Hey, it's Brett. I want to walk through adding dark mode styles to a website. If you're not familiar with dark mode, it is an OS setting on computers and phones that allows a user to set a preference as to whether or not they want the page displayed using light mode or dark mode. Typically, light mode has a white or lighter background with dark text. Dark mode has a black or dark background with white text or lighter text. And this changes the way light is emitted from the devices and the visual aesthetic of the applications and web pages based upon user preference. I think it's really great to give people an alternative to what they see and cater to those preferences. Dark mode is particularly nice at nighttime when maybe someone wants to emit less light from their device. So if, imagine on your phone, there's a white background, all those pixels are lit up to display that white. But if it's black, it's going to emit less light, only the light needed for the text. So that's kind of a nifty thing too. What we have open here is Big Cartel, which is where I work, and I just want to show the difference between light and dark mode. You can switch it in your OS really quickly. In Mac, I just have an app called Alfred that lets me switch quickly. You can see Chrome turn to dark mode, and you can see Big Cartel turned dark. And that's because we've coded all these styles to have a dark mode theme. I'm going to switch back to light mode because switching the whole OS just to test it is a little bit cumbersome. So what you can do is in Chrome's DevTools, and maybe other browsers support this, I don't know, you can go click the three dots, run command, and you can actually just type dark mode. And there's a rendering option for emulating dark mode. So therefore, the rest of the OS doesn't switch, but just what Chrome is rendering does. And you can open that command prompt really quickly by pressing Command-Shift-P on Mac. And then if you just type in emulate, you'll see all the options. So you can turn it off, you can emulate light, you can also emulate reduced motion, which beyond the scope of this screencast, but let's turn off the emulation. And that is the basic gist of what we're going to be building today. Instead of looking at Big Cartel, which is where I work, that was just a good example to show it. We're instead going to make this Linktree website that we built in a past episode, support dark mode, and see how everything is, we got the light background and the dark text. Now if we emulate dark mode here, nothing changes because we haven't coded for it yet. But luckily, it's something that is pretty straightforward to build for and code for. In this code base, it's just picking up where the last episode ended. We have an index HTML with a title, we have some styles and a style tag, and then we have our markup. If you're using a CSS preprocessor like Sass or less, there are even more convenient ways you can do this. But for the sake of this screencast, we're going to just go ahead and do it with normal CSS. So the first thing you need to do is add a meta tag called color scheme. And then I think the content is going to be light and dark. Let's double check. I wrote this down. Color scheme, dark and light. Cool. So that just tells the browser that this page supports both light and dark. And then what we're going to do is use media queries to handle reacting based upon the different modes. A media query is this way in CSS to react to different settings. Like maybe the browser is trying to print the page and you want to have print styles. Maybe the browser is a certain width and you want to display your content differently on smaller screens or wider screens. And then you can also do it for this. So there's prefers color scheme. And then you can pass in which one it is. So for us, we're going to do dark, and our default styles will be for light mode. There's also a colon here that I forgot. And then all you do is you take your style that you already wrote and duplicate it, but you just add the color. So here we have this color. Let's go ahead and see what this is. And I think opening a color picker and seeing it can help us better pick other colors too. So here we have this dark gray that we're using for the text. And then what I'll do usually is I'll just drag it up and drag it over and find a nice light color. I'll go with a light gray. Copy the hex code and then replace it. Oops, except I replaced the wrong one. Also here we have background white, so we want to go and change that. Actually, yeah, we could, a nice way to guide the design here can be to invert the colors, so just swap them. So when we're in dark mode, the background becomes the text color, which is this 364652 instead of white. And then we could make the text white, but instead we made this sort of off-white. So let's save that, refresh, and then we'll emulate dark mode. All right, so the text changed, but the background didn't. So let's see what happened. I forgot to put body here. So you have to take the media query, wrap the element with the selector, and do that. So now we've got a darker background. We've got our text is lighter, which is quite nice. And we've got our buttons, all of which seem to still work with the intended design in light and dark mode. So that's kind of nice, actually. I'll adjust them a little bit just to show some more examples of doing this. But as you can see, it's a pretty quick change to make. And yeah, you can add these throughout. Wherever you have colors set, background or color are the ones I usually search for. And we can just go ahead and keep adjusting those. So we've got, I think the one I most wanted to change was, let's change the fourth child, because I think that one was the darkest. I don't think it quite works with the dark mode. So let's go ahead and view that in a color picker. Okay, so that's this dark blue. Let's lighten it up a bit. Copy the hex, replace it. Okay, so now that one is actually lighter than the one above it, and we kind of have this decreasing gradient. So we'll just go and do it again. We'll make this 3, we'll take this one, take it, drag it up and over to lighten it up a bit. Let's do a little farther. We'll just do all of them. Yeah, that's the basic gist of it. I think it's really cool to accommodate people and their preferences. I think it shows that you're thinking about them, and it's pretty, like, I know I'm pretty excited when a website supports styles for dark mode. And I think it gets honestly even easier when you use something like CSS. Oops, I just changed the wrong one. When you use something like CSS, you can put the media queries within your selector, and it compiles quite nicely, and you can use variables to do so to make it even easier. So there's cool stuff you can do there. that I think applies with your other use of sass and less. All right, now that's all a bit lighter, and now we've got these hover styles that are maybe just a little too dark, so we can modify those a bit, and I think that'll be an episode. Now, instead of color white, this background, let's make it, so we got this color, but let's make it a little bit lighter when we hover. There we go. I'm really digging that. I think that's looking good. We can go emulate light, emulate dark, light mode. Oh, let's turn off emulation. Okay, and then if in my OS I switch using Alfred, it switches. I actually really like the way the dark color scheme looks, which is cool too. There you go. That's it on dark mode. Just a meta tag you gotta add to the head of your pages called color scheme, and then you use the media query prefers color scheme, dark and light. And if your default theme is much darker, then you would do prefers color scheme light. But for us, that default theme is really light. There you go. Let me know if you have any questions or want to know anything more about dark mode styles. I hope this helps you. Keep making your website even better. Thanks.